All right. Judge Neil Gorsuch, as you probably heard, is making the rounds, meeting with a lot of powerful senators. This guy is in that select bunch, to put it mildly, Republican Senator Steve Daines of Montana. He joins us right now. Senator, very good to have you. Thanks for taking the time.
Thanks for having me.
You know, you've been through a lot of soap operas, including this dust-up on in the Senate, I guess, with Liz Warren and all of that. How did that go down? I don't want to get too sidetracked, but Democrats have made hay of it. Republicans say they were just following the rules on conduct and how you refer to each other. It had to be tense because there you were in the middle of it all.
Well, I preside every Tuesday night from 6:30 p.m. to 8 p.m. And
lucky you.
I had no idea who was going to be speaking that night. Typically, you don't. And tell you, when you're presiding officer, you got to call balls and strikes according to the rules of the Senate. And
that is a rule, right? You can't disparage another member.
You can't. The words are you can't impugn a fellow senator, a sitting senator. So there are boundaries on that, and that's to ensure we keep civility, statesmanship in this very important institution called the United States Senate. Let's not
even
forget.
when she is quoting from a letter, sir, I mean, she was quoting from Coretta King from a letter written more than 30 years ago, that doesn't make it right.
The rule is very clear. It says either direct or indirect. So that means if you quote somebody, and by the way, there were other statements you quoted from Ted Kennedy that used a very, very strong language here that impugned Jeff Sessions. And the irony behind this, when Jeff Sessions gave his farewell speech last night after we approved him on the floor of the Senate, Jeff Sessions talked about his relationship with Ted Kennedy, how he and Ted Kennedy worked together and passed a prison reform bill. So I think it even doubles down on the unfortunate words that were used. Because Ted Kennedy
don't understand those. You know, you're a very diplomatic man, and I know most senators try to be. But it seems loosey-goosey with these rules. How is it, for example, that a Ted Cruz can say of Mitch McConnell, you know, a couple of years back, he lied again and again and again, or you can have a Senator Cotton saying, you know, horrible things about Harry Reid, and I could just easily name Democrats who've done the same.
Hey,
is it a judgment call? How does that work?
Yeah, ultimately it is, but I think it's important we do continue to enforce the rules of the Senate. We are a nation that believes in the rule of law. I think it's important that we model that as senators. We don't want the Senate to get to a point where you can't even let your kids watch C-SPAN anymore. And we should be models of how you can have spirited debate, disagree strongly. But I tell you what, name-calling and making outrageous statements that impugn another senator is not allowed by Rule 19, and this rule applies to both sides of the aisle. Both sides need to make sure they abide by this rule. All
right, if I could switch gears, and thank you for indulging. I was just curious how that all went down, Senator. On this separate issue with Judge Gorsuch, I'm getting a feeling, I could be wrong, that it is looking very good for his approval. In fact, the nuclear option, just a mere majority, might not be necessary, that he's got enough Democratic support or potential support that you guys won't even have to use that option. Am I right?
Boy, I tell you, I just finished up a meeting with Judge Gorsuch. Spent an hour with him in my office. This guy's a fellow Westerner. He's from Colorado. I'm from Montana. He brings that Western common sense to the bench. He has impeccable credentials. I mean, Columbia undergraduate, Harvard Law School, Oxford for his doctorate, 10 years on the 10th Circuit. I mean, this is a guy, he's just 49 years old. I mean, this guy is a rising star, and he's exactly the kind of person, the kind of character qualities, mainstream type of jurist that should serve on the United States Supreme Court.
So I'm getting a sense that maybe Democrats are keeping their powder dry for the next court justice opening, not this one, insofar as the judge here would kind of be an even match for the guy who's replacing Antonin Scalia. The next one, that is going to be the battle royale. What do you think?
Well, I tell you, Neil Gorsuch is a kind-hearted, thoughtful person. That will come across when he goes through the hearing process. This is a very, very thoughtful man. He's a daddy, 2 daughters. He's a wonderful husband. He's an outdoorsman. We had a lot of things in common that we talked about, but I'll tell you what, he's very, very bright, very mainstream, and he'd be a kind of guy I'd be proud to take along beside me in my pickup and drive around the state of Montana and let Montanans get to know him. I'll tell you what, Montanans will be behind Neil Gorsuch.
You know, while I have you, Senator, we do know, and I know there's supposed to be confidences when a judge comes into your chamber and talks to you. but he was quoted after a meeting with Connecticut Senator Blumenthal for calling Donald Trump demoralizing and disheartening when it came to the way he characterized the so-called judge, referring to the judge who had shot him down and went ahead and rejected the president's argument that his travel vetting wouldn't stand legal assault. Now, the judge seemed to confirm that he did say that, but again, it was not supposed to get out of that room, but it did. But are we to be surprised? Of course, a judge will defend a fellow judge, right?
I'll tell you what it tells me about Neil Gorsuch? This man is honest, this man stands by his word, and this man's an independent thinker. We want to have a jurist, somebody serving on the United States Supreme Court, that demonstrates the separation of powers. And that's kind of a small example of it, frankly. And I think it just, again, is a testimony to the kind of person that Neil Gorsuch is.
But he might have just improved his odds of getting Democratic senators to support
I'll tell you
right?
what,
Maybe it was all a strategy.
If you believe in the separation of powers, which we should all believe in, as our founding fathers did, there's a little small example here. If somebody's not afraid to maybe make a comment about the executive branch, and that just again proves the independence of Neil Gorsuch and why he'll be a great Supreme Court justice.
All right, we'll watch it closely. Senator Daines, thank you very, very much. We're getting your kind of weather here in New York, Senator, and we're not.
Let it snow.
We're not ready for that. All right, Senator Daines, thank you very, very much.